Are you excited about Riftbound spoilers but wish there was more gameplay videos? Well, don't worry, I got you covered. So in today's video, we're going to showcase a match between Viktor and Jinx trial decks, which seem to be the two popular ones out of the set of 4 so far, at least the fan favorites. Talk about some of the new artwork reveals that we've got, and just have a showcase of what really makes Riftbound special and why I'm so excited for this game. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. So first and foremost, yes, we did get the final version of the card template. So if you just skipped ahead to the versus video, you might miss this section, but we do have finalized artwork. It looks so much better, but unfortunately, because of the time when I recorded and edited and all that good stuff, I had to use the old artwork for the video. But I think it does look very, very nice side by side. What an absolute glow up. And I mean, just looking at the Viktor champion cards side by side, it's a clear night and day winner of which one of them. Now, the one thing I do want to say up front is that as I've been playing these trial decks, they really feel like two separate identities that are kind of smushed together, just to give you an idea of what the overall legend is supposed to do. And I think for a trial deck, that is totally fine. But I found myself, as I was playing this, you have one side of this that is all Wraith of Echoes, and really just getting all this extra draw out of the Viktor tokens that you can spam to the field, a bunch of sacrifice effects to get even more draw. Really, you know, just a traditional like Dimir control style, getting extra value. And then on the other side, you had your more traditional tokens that just said, you know what, I want to have the Grand Plaza slam down that Grand Stratagem and win that way, which, spoiler, I did get to actually win a match that way. Unfortunately, it wasn't the recorded one, but it was still a lot of fun. And so, yes, I am using the older artwork of Grand Plaza. That's the only old artwork on here because I want to stress that that is the one side of an alternate win con that is introduced with the Viktor deck. If you actually hold it with 7 units on that location or battlefield, you are going to win. Just, it does not matter how many points you had up to that point, you are going to just automatically win the game. And again, some decks, this might just be absolutely impossible to achieve, like the Ari deck that was spoiled earlier today at the time of recording this with the legend and especially the special card that goes with it, and just be able to clear out a bunch of tokens, right? As we see more of these like anti-go wide cards pay off, the Grand Plaza might be a card that you just cannot afford to run in your deck. But again, I've had a lot of fun with this. It definitely gets me really excited to see which sides of Viktor that we're ultimately going to see. You know, Call of the Week just being such a strong card, especially if we are in a late game heavy meta, when you're able to sacrifice a token that you just don't care about and get to knock out one of their big like Volibears or something, you're getting a lot of value that way. And then I got to give, still the MVP so far is Hidden Blade. This card is a key point that you'll see in the match, and not using it the way that you might thought it gets used most often, but it was a critical turn that pulled us ahead and really shows the dynamic of having a card like Hidden Blade in this style of deck that says, hey, sometimes I'm sacrificing my tokens and just getting all the draw value because I need to find that big key payoff. Or other times, it is just a good removal card that you can use. And yes, you are giving your opponent cards, but if you are going to win the game in like 2 turns, they're not going to have enough time to totally use those resources in a meaningful way. So I really love the Viktor deck. I think it is one that if you love go wider token strategies in other card games, you are going to be right at home. But for me, I'm very excited to see what the other half of this deck looks like, or at least more of the blue cards, because this one, again, was definitely more yellow focused with a lot of the power recycling those runes instead. So I think there's a lot more to be explored and a lot to be excited for with spoiler season. So with that quick roundup out of the way, let's dive into the game and showcase a Viktor versus Jinx matchup, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. Moving into the match, one thing to note that if you are going first, you get 2 runes for your turn, but the second player will get 3 runes for their first turn, and then you alternate 2 runes each turn. For starting hand, you get 4 cards, and mulligan is put 2 cards to the bottom of your deck, then draw 2, and no shuffling is required. So starting off things here, we have our channeler that gets us an extra rune when it dies. So this is really, as I was talking about in the earlier part, where it does feel like there's a few sacrifice pieces. Again, early defense here is really nice just to get a point, and it puts our opponent in a position that if they remove it, you know, they get to ramp us a rune, which is always nice. And Max was able to find his traveling merchant, which is really all about the movement and getting to draw discard, which is the whole point of Jinx at the end of the day, is try to get down to 0 cards so you can get that extra draw turn over turn. So really quickly here, I'm just pumping out some tokens. We got the manufacturer that gets us the extra token, as well as 2 more recruits coming down with the Viktor ability, so it gives us a total of 4 units on our side of the board. And this is where we start to try to align, you know, what victory am I taking here? Am I going to find a card that lets me get a draw engine going and drawing a bunch of extra cards, or do I need to really rely on the Grand Plaza for being our win condition? So here, Max is going to get the movement effect off the Traveling Merchant, which is going to draw 1, discard 1, and then he's also going to get the Conquer effect off the Warrens, which is then going to allow him to play the Flame Chompers with the alternate effect. When it's discarded, you get to pay a Fury to the bottom of the deck or pay the power cost to play it out, and then Jinx is actually going to become active based on her effect. So you can really start to see how a lot of these pieces really chain together and makes them for very powerful turns in Riftbound, which is something honestly I'm very excited for. So Jinx is going to get to move into the Grand Plaza here, being able to knock out our Tiny Burb, which in our case, is going to ramp us the runes. We're not too upset about this. There is a lot more ramp pieces that we'll see kind of come together in the full set, so I'm curious to see, what a full proper ramp style is going to look for this. There's the top rune coming in Exhausted, and we are going to go into our turn. Max gets a point for conquering both of these, making it the max of 2 points that he can gain in the turn. Now again, we do have a lot of power cost in this deck, so in this case we did find our Wraith of Echoes. We have to put a blue to the bottom, and this can be really good for, just sacrificing some of our cards. So here we have a choice that we could immediately contest and then draw a card if we really wanted to, but we just wanted an extra cycle. Again, these are just the trial decks from our hand, so we are going to be able to play the Stupefy here, which is going to cycle itself, make sure our unit stays on the board to force our opponent to have an action against it if they want to conquer it again, and then also give us a card draw on the following turn. So just a way to hold the base. Wish we had an extra rune here to have another card held up. Otherwise, we are just, trading a point for a point here because it only has 2 might on it, and we know that Flame Chompers can come across. And here he is going to move it into this field. We knew that we were going to get the card draw off of it, and he's also going to get the Warrens here to get the discard draw effect again. And here we're just taking our extra draw from the Wraith. Again, card, I'm very excited to see how it plays out in a more control-heavy style of deck. And unfortunate timing for us, Max does have the perfect answer, because I was going to set up a really big combo turn with being able to sacrifice a bunch of stuff and draw extra cards to have a big play here. And I cut out a lot of time here as I kind of went into the tank thinking about my turn. But we have another manufacturer here playing out another recruit off the effect. And here is where we can start to see the value from the tokens really take shape and how we're putting things together. So again, getting another recruit off the board from Viktor's effect. And then we are going to go into our Call of the Week. Now, again, this would have been a lot cooler if we had our Wraith on board to give us the extra card draw, but we do see only the 2 cards on our opponent's side. So we're just going to be able to cut off his Traveling Merchant, which is really important for cutting off his cycling in the deck, and then also being able to hit the Jinx here, which puts him off any aggressive plans. Now, this deck does have a lot of Accelerate, or Max's deck does have a lot of Accelerate, to be fair. But I want to try to get a point here just to make sure that we're being aggressive with our point total, and it really puts him on, forcing him to have the Accelerate card so they can conquer it back right away, which, if I remember correctly, is only 2 cards in total within the deck. So here he does have the Jinx. You'll notice on that last turn I meant to sacrifice another recruit, and I made that mistake by not removing it, but it does come up later that it didn't really matter if I had that recruit or not. It was actually a misplay that I kept it, but here he is going to be able to go into the combo again with getting Accelerated, getting the Flame Chompers, and what's really important from this point in the game on is that anytime Max conquers a battlefield, he's able to loop back his key removal in that Jinx Death Rocket. So we have to constantly play the game of where is the rocket and where isn't it? So is it in hand, or does he have to conquer something to get it back from his discard pile? And over webcam, that can be a little bit difficult, all things considered. Maybe just turn your card sideways in your trash to keep track of it. But it is one that you have to be mindful of, because I want to play out my Victors, but I know that they are just going to immediately eat a removal if we go that route. So here we took some time trying to figure out what lines we wanted to take, and we decided just to go for the discard. Now, we are getting rid of Viktor's key spell here, but we know that we aren't going to have as much board spam as we want, so that does get a little bit less value because we had a lot of extra, again, sack heavy cards here to kind of clog up our hand and get the most value out of. So here we have the Cruel Patron, which allows us to play right to the battlefield because we conquered it and we get to get a draw off of our previous card. And Hidden Blade here being a key turn for us. Yes, we are giving our opponent the draw, but we're able to set the tempo, have this massive body on our opponent's Warrens to make sure we're getting a holding point, and now having that big might behind it can line up quite well. Now, an interesting thing to note is that damage in this game stacks until the end of the showdown or end of the turn, depending on how it lines up. So here we have the 5 damage that's already on the body, so he's going to be able to just trade his board, knock out our big threat, but it did cost him 2 cards to our effectively 1.5, because one of them was a token. And this is instead where we're seeing the other side of Viktor. So yes, Max does have a couple cards in hand. He's really not able to get his Jinx engine online. So if we're able to find a couple more pieces of getting some extra draw or getting extra commitment out of Viktor to start really spamming tokens, we can really start to just overwhelm our opponent with the token strategy side of this deck. So here we're going to see the first Viktor from our hand come into play. Then we're going to play the second Viktor. So no matter what, he has to give us a recruit back if he hits one of these Viktors. But on the next turn, they are 4 might, so they are pretty good defenders themselves. We can actually push up a Viktor, likely knock out one of his smaller guys, and say, hey, if you want to take this back, I might have a defensive spell to play, or I just get extra units, and that's what I want to be doing anyways. Max instead finds another Traveling Merchant, which, as I mentioned, is a key part for his deck because it allows him to cycle and find more of those discard outlets. And here he does have a Gust to bounce something back to our hand, so we do not get the point for holding. However, Max isn't able to find either a key acceleration piece here or just something to get an extra point back, so he has to spend his turn developing, but he does have the Chemtech Enforcer, which allows him to discard down, and it is a very aggressive attacker for the next turn. And this is where it's going to be, the 4 versus 4 might if we really want to sacrifice it, but this comes back to where we want to develop our turn. So starting off again, finding the Warrens, getting a card to discard here, and just go for the draw. And we had a bunch of the other Death Knell, get 3 recruit guys kind of stuck in our hand, which are really expensive. I was really hoping to filter down a little bit more. Faithful Manufacturer here is going to give us 3 more power on the battlefield, up to 4 total. Again, matching what's on his side of the board. And this is actually a key misplay by my end. We wanted to actually move a Viktor in this case to be the 4 might matching because we're okay to lose something. And then we also have the Machine and Vengo, as I was talking about here, to back it up. So that recruit sticking around an extra turn was actually a misplay that kind of cost us here for being able to line up the super cool the Grand Plaza turn that we wanted to win. But, again, this is kind of some of the early games that we're playing, so it's just good to showcase the battling of the battlefields back and forth. And here is just a good thing for webcam. I was just showcasing the total might on each battlefield just to help him out. And so again, with movements, that's going to happen before showdown. So he does get the discard draw before damage is assigned, so we can still draw into a extra removal. And then he's just going to knock us down to our 1 body left on the board. Now, something to note is that Viktor is non-token unit, so him killing the recruit here unfortunately doesn't help us out, but he is able to bring that Chemtech Enforcer behind it, which is going to allow us to get 2 more tokens. And keep in mind, this is going to give Max the 7th point, and in this game you need to get up to 8, so if he holds that position on the next turn, he automatically wins. Now, unfortunately, I wanted to try to go for the big combo flashy finish, but I forgot that he went to 7 points off that Conquer, and I got a little bit too tunnel vision and wanted to try to pull off the Grand Plaza strategy again. But at this point, we are holding a key buff spell for Viktor in our hand, so we do actually have enough to go for the Grand Plaza win if we really want to, noticing our opponent's board just not having as much to go for it, but there is going to be here just a little bit of a tanking to see, what can Max really line up here on his turn. He decided to get back the Super Mega Death Rocket, knock out one of our Viktors, which does allow us to still get an extra token here, so we're still live for how big our board needs to be for the Grand Plaza's alternate win condition of holding enough spots. But again, keep in mind, we do need to check his board to make sure that we don't give him a battlefield that's being held. So it's going to quickly go into our turn here where we're going to just reset those last 2 tokens. Again, we're getting 1 token back anyways from the unit dying, and then we're actually getting another token on top of that. So we're getting 4 tokens off that 1 unit dying. And this is where we just kind of like, okay, well, I have all of this, plus I have the Power Siphon in my hand, but we had to rewind because I messed up my sequencing here. So Viktor is going to go crash into the board just to deny that holding. And here is where we're going to see like the big token payoff for Viktor of being able to challenge a battlefield and making sure that we have enough units on board to really crash back. So here we're going to just push everything up, have the Siphon Power ability, which is going to shrink everything on his side by 1, boost all of ours by 1, and have a great flashy finish. So thank you, Max, for the games. Hope you everyone enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one.